Matt Walsh is on an absolute heater right now for saying the unpopular things. After a young man lost his life in Texas to an aggressive, extremely low impulse control individual, a young man who was a man of God, a 4.0 student, a student athlete. After he lost his life over a simple telling one person to move a seat, Matt Walsh tweeted this: "If I told you that a young man took the life of another man for telling him that he was in the wrong seat, and I told you that one of the young men in the altercation was white and the other was black, and then I asked you to guess which race was the assailant, every single person would know the answer immediately. Young black males are aggressive to a wildly, outrageously disproportionate degree. That is just a fact. We all know it, and it's time to speak honestly about it, or nothing will ever change." Look, we're going to talk about some very uncomfortable hate facts in this video, but it's important that people understand. First of all, obviously, hashtag not all black people. It is in particular young black males that are very, very dangerous. And the percentages are, the data supports what I'm saying. Obviously, there are a lot of great young black males, church going, high value people in society, things like that. But this received 140,000 likes, which of course triggered just about everybody. A quick reminder, Meta PCs, my sponsor, wants me to tell everyone today, with the new tariffs possibly going into place on April 5th and more on April 9th, they've got enough inventory to hold current pricing for now. So promo code quartering, if you're in the market for a new PC and you're worried about potential tariffs, link will be in the description below. There's not a lot to disagree with here. And Jason Whitlock in here has been on absolute heater as well, covering this type of thing. And then we're going to talk about some actual facts. People will call them hate facts, but it's simply, let's listen to Jason Whitlock here.
Will anybody in the sports media world talk about this? Will any of the Cowboys treat Austin Metcalf the way the Cowboys treated George Floyd, taking a knee all over the place? What's more of a tragedy? George Floyd overdosing on fentanyl under the knee of Derek Chauvin, or this 17-year-old boy, honor roll student, devout Christian, stabbed in the heart at a track meet?
Good question. I mean, I'm sure Jason Whitlock's going to get a lot of heat here. But, I would say it's obvious which is more tragic. It's the good citizen who got killed. He's not wrong. Will we see people in the NFL who kneel for this? Will we see, keep the fathers in the home campaigns? The fact that he even brought a knife tells you all you need to know about this kid and all the rhetoric around him, which is going to surface.
But no one's outraged. No, that's a misnomer. People are outraged. But these idolatrous, or these idols that have been installed in our culture, let's see if they have a word to say about this. I don't think they will.
Nope.
Because we've seen this before. Do you remember the shows I was doing a year and a half ago about the kid Ethan Liming?
Yeah.
The 17-year-old, I believe, high school football player in Akron, Ohio, who got beaten up and killed in the parking lot of LeBron James's I Promise school.
White kid, by the way.
Everybody goes deathly silent.
I think.
When the white kid,
yes,
with the promising future, gets killed by young black men.
I don't. I'm covering it right now.
The boys that killed Ethan Lyman, they got 18 months in prison.
That's it?
They were found not guilty of involuntary manslaughter. a dispute over someone shooting water pellets at these two young black boys turns into the death of Ethan Lyon.
I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. And today we're going to go over some interesting statistics. Statistics that nobody is afraid to talk about, that everyone's afraid to talk about, and I'm willing to eat a strike for this video on YouTube, and I hope that you'll share it before it gets it, because these are the facts, okay? In 2023, black men represented 5.7% of the total U.S. population. This is not something I'm making up, okay? This is according to Google, all right? While the total black population is 14.4%, black men constitute 5.7% of the total U.S. population. So now you know, as a percentage, how big this group is, okay? What percentage of attacks, violent crime, do you think that this very small group represents per capita or in general? I just said, because it's not the women that are doing it. We're talking about the men. Let's even round it up to 5%. Here's crime data from the FBI website. Okay. 2019, let's pick a date. Total arrests by race. Now, their category for violent crime, okay? The left will tell you, but look at all these white people. 210,000 white people arrested for these type of crimes. It's not okay when white people do it either, okay? That's total. Now, people need to understand the word of the day is per capita, okay? White people represent, let's look up using the same tool, okay? White male, let's say that, okay? 30%, okay? So despite being 5% of the population, they represent 130,000 arrests for violent crime. 130,000. 5% represents, let's see, out of 355,000, okay? We'll just do the math. I know this is gonna, make sure you support, maybe sure you buy some coffee. 100 let's just round it up to 130,000. It's not that big of a round up. 130,000 out of 355,000. I'll round that down to compensate. They are 5% of the population, and they represent nearly 40% of all violent crime. Of all violent crime. Again, let me say that. Black males represent 5% of the total population in the United States, yet represent nearly 40% of all violent crime. Now, if we just said, I'm excluding females, I know they're a part of it. If we want to say, if we want to say just black, okay, we want to roll the women into it, fine. It's 14% of the population. All right. 14.4% of the population committing 40% of the crime. Now the left will say, well, you're still more likely to lose your life to a white person. Yes, you are. That's true. Statistically, that's true. But that also does not discount the fact that this community has a major issue. I mean, from a community that needs fathers, that needs to know self-worth, the real problem is that they don't think their lives have any value. And so they'll do anything because they don't see any value in their life. This is FBI crime statistics. I'm not making this up. Okay? How about this? Black on white homicides. This is the number of times it happened last year. Well, 2010 to 2020. 14,689. white people lost their lives to a black person, despite being 14% of the population. The number of whites that took the lives of black people, despite being 40% of the population, is less than half. Yes, everyone has problems, and I don't think that there's anything inherent about being black that leads you to commit these crimes. It's culture, it's upbringing, it's fatherless homes, these things. But to ignore this kind of stuff and pretend like it's racist to talk about this. How about this? Here's a great little chart, another hate chart. You know? Based on arrests, yes. Black crime being driven by socioeconomics is also false. There's this narrative that says, well, it's because they're poor, they commit more crimes. Well, poor blacks commit crimes at 300% the rate of whites. Rich blacks commit crime at 5 times the rate of whites. So the more money you get, the black population commits 3 to 5 times the amount of crimes at all income levels. This is not an opinion. This is so when YouTube reviews this video, okay? When YouTube reviews this video, I have cited all of my sources. Now, the white community has all sorts of other problems. These kids going into schools, math, and it's not like white people aren't out there committing crimes, okay? But what I'm saying is nobody's covering for the white population and saying, this isn't a problem, you can't talk about it. They're only covering for that community. So why do you think that is? You would think people want it to be better. I don't want our prisons to be filled with young black men who ruin their lives. I don't want other black folks to be, on the receiving end of their crime either. But until people can actually talk about stuff, until people actually stop lying, and getting offended, I don't really understand. This is a problem of, in that black community that only they can fix. More money isn't going to fix it. I just showed you that. Fathers staying in homes, stop worshiping gangster culture, and start figuring out ways to give these young black men some self-worth. Because it starts with valuing your own life. If you don't value your own life, you'll throw it away for anything. And when they're fed constant things that the value of white people is irrelevant, right? White people suck. They're holding us down. Why do you think they're more quick to act? Everything I've said in this segment has been a fact. And we'll see how that's received.